Howdy folks, it's Lisa with Quilting in the Valley, and here we are with our Quilting 101. Next in our series, we're going to put our blocks together to make the center of our quilt. I have already pieced the first 6 rows just for brevity's sake so that you guys don't have to watch me piece all of that. But that is basically what we're going to do. So it's a modified rail fence. We're going to go down, over, down, over, down, over, down, over, down, and then put the solid blocks in between so you get that kind of sashed look. How do you know how to put those blocks together? Well, you're going to lay these out each row at a time, and you're going to very carefully make sure you put them together in the right order. One of the things that we use to help you do that is the Merrilee's numbered pins. So these numbered pins come numbered on the end of them from number 1 through number 20. So I am going to take number 1, that's my first block in this row. I'm going to put my pin in the top left-hand corner inside where my seam allowance is, outside, where my seam allowance is going to be, so I'm not going to catch it when I sew it. Here's number 2, again, the left hand, so that you know that this pieces to this block. Number 3, this pieces to this. Number 4, this pieces to that, and 5, this pieces to that. Additionally, I have my 7 crosswise at the bottom, and that's pointing out to you that this is row number 7. When you go to press your blocks, you're going to press your seams in alternate directions. So on this particular one, all of my seams in my odd rows, so this is row number 1, are pressed this way. Since I've got my numbered pins in here, I've pressed 1, 3, 5, and now 7. All the seams are pressing to the left. Row 2, 4, and 6, the seams are pressing to the right. And that will help you when you go to nest your seams so that you get those nice sharp corners. Okie doke. So let's go ahead and get these in order. So I'm going to put them right on top of one another with number 1 on the very top so that I know what I'm starting with. So again, I'm going to take number 1. Here's number 2. I know that this goes on the right side of number 1, so I'm going to put these 2 together, line them up real well. Again, at this point, if you'd like to pin your blocks together, you can do that. I choose not to. To each their own. There's no quilt police. You're going to do what you need to do. Okay, when I open this out, now I have block 2. Here's block 3. Again, that goes to that. And I know that because my pin is there. I'm not going to get any of my blocks turned sideways because I'm using that pin to keep me in line. I'm using my 1/4-inch foot. I hope all of you guys got your 1/4-inch feet so that you are doing that nice accurate 1/4-inch seam. That's very critical for this. Here I go again. My pin is right there, letting me know I'm piecing to the right-hand side. Ooh, that's too high up there. Here we go. Ooh. I think I might have got a thread goober. And my last piece on this row, there's my pin, and it goes to that side. Line that up real well. Okay, now, I can go ahead and take out these pins because I know I've got all my blocks in the right position, and because I don't want to iron over the plastic of these pins, it might work over my numbers and then I wouldn't be able to read my numbers. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You notice that little pin cushion? That is a cute little pin cushion that keeps all of your pins in order. You get the free pattern for that little pin cushion when you buy the pins. which are available on our website, quiltingthevalley.com. Let's go set the seams. Now, remember when I said we were going to go to the left with these seams? So now I'm going to come in, I'm going to set this seam. Oops. I'm going to set this seam. I'm going to set the next one. And this just helps your blocks lay flat. I did get a little thread goober there. Oops. It'll be in my seam allowance, nobody will know. Okay, now, since my pin number 7 for row number 7 is down on that lower left-hand side, I know that this is the left-hand side of this row. So now I can take this and I can just make sure that that seam lays to the left. If you remember, all my odd rows are going to the left. So I'll just take my finger, make sure that seam's laying to the left. And I am using our Laura Star iron, which is very hot. It's a very hot iron. It's using microfine steam. And when I pull back, the heat is drying my seams. So now I have very flatly pressed seams and my blocks are dry. This is not wet at all. Okay, now I'm going to take this back over here. And I know that, again, because my pin number 7 is down here, I know that this is block number 7, or row number 7, and that that's the left-hand side. And you can see how the pattern completes there. So I'm going to take this and add this to this row. Here is where, if you are a newbie to this, you are going to go ahead and pin your seam intersections. I am a lazy person. So I am pinching my seam allowances together. You can feel when your seams are nested, you can feel where they just lay right there and then it's flat right across there. You can feel that. So when you're pinning it or if you're pinching it, either way, you want to make sure you can feel that seam nesting flat. Here's where I had that thread goober. We're gonna pay attention to that thread goober. We're just gonna sew right on over that. I'm gonna make sure, since my seams on the underside of this are facing that way, I'm making sure that when I go over the bed of my machine, they don't turn backwards on me, because that makes for a lump underneath. You don't want that. Okay, and I can feel this one did just turn under, so I'm just gonna bump that right back up again. Okay. Nesting those seams, you can just feel right where they nest together. And then I'm going to finish my row off. And cut my thread. And now I'm going to go back over here to my ironing station, or my pressing station, I should say. I'm going to set this seam. So that it's nice and flat, and then I'm just going to press this over, and I'm going to use my finger to nudge that seam down. Okay, and then I'm going to, because I'm using a Laura Star, I'm just going to go over this and make sure everything is nice and dry. And I should have a nice flat seam on the bottom side. And then I have the center of my quilt done. This is the center of your quilt. So I'm going to hold this up so you can see very clearly what our pattern is. So we start with a solid, stripe and down, solid, stripe. And then you bump over one. So the next one to this would be down, solid, stripe, down, solid. Stripe, down, solid, stripe, down, solid. You're just gonna alternate. So this is what the center of your quilt should look like, right here. Our next issue on this particular quilt, we're going to show you how to measure correctly for your borders so that your quilt comes out square. We're going to measure for borders and put our borders on our next video. See you then.